guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as promised, bringing the second part of a two-part series about the reasons why Jamaica's crime problems cannot be fixed. Having laid that foundation in that first video, the one preceding this one, I am now going to add the fix. Because now that we have identified the issues, that is the underlying issues that is preventing us from fighting crime and stopping murders. Now we need to apply the fix. But one recap I need to do, and it's this, and I make it in this statement. Jamaica is now dealing with a terrorist problem. And if we are that is what we have got to come to terms with. And if we are dealing with a terrorist problem, we cannot be using our antiquated laws from the 1920s, 1930s to deal with issues now that had not been foreseen at the times when we were making those laws. So we have tied our hands behind our own backs and fighting some things which we are just ill-equipped mentally to deal with. So, having said that, let's get right into it. I was saying that we can't pour new wine into old kegs because the old kegs would contaminate the new wine. Nor can we is it right to pour the old wine into new kegs because we would still end up with the old wine. So what we have got to do is to create a new set of ethos, a new set of ideas, a new set of policies that are specifically designed to tackle the issues we have. And one of the first things we need to do is to create agencies that can do the job. Now, first of all, I had discussed CTOC in my two previous videos, and I will come back to CTOC. That's the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch. Now, I think I've said enough about CTOC in those two videos. If you haven't watched them, go ahead and watch them. But I sing praises to CTOC. They are not perfect. They are run by human beings, and human beings are imperfect. But I think the CTOC has done enough to prove itself capable and up to the task if it's able to function properly by the courts. Now, the other agency that I'm going to focus on that will need to change, because I think in the new dispensation of fighting crime, we can keep CTOC. The next agency that I think we have to do some work on, a lot of work on, is MOCA. That is the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency. Now, MOCA is a joke. MOCA is a big joke. As a matter of fact, for those of us in the know, MOCA is an embarrassment. It causes more problem than it's worth. First, to begin with, MOCA claims to be an independent law enforcement agency. Now, I don't know if anybody here need to go into the semantics of what independent means, but how can MOCA be an independent law enforcement agency and it hasn't got its own law enforcement personnel? The people at MOCA are not employed by MOCA, are employed to MOCA. They are ordinary Jamaica Constabulary Force employees, policemen, who are seconded to this agency called MOCA. So it's not a standalone agency or an independent agency, because at any time, let us look at it, at any time, the Commissioner of Police can recall and transfer any MOCA agent and send them to write traffic tickets downtown, or to clean dog teeth up at K9 Division up at Armand Barracks. Now, how can you call that an independent agency? An agency that cannot dictate its own rules. Its rules and its guidelines are dictated by somebody else, somewhere else, in another branch of it. You can be independent if you are a branch of another agency. They are simply policemen who are seconded to MOCA. So that, I don't call that an independent agency. That's the first thing. First thing. And if you are going to be fighting crime, you can't be in this position where you are, in this agency called MOCA, and while there, who do you hold loyalty to? To the Jamaica Constabulary Force, to which you're actually employed, and whose identification card you carry? Or are you going to be loyal to MOCA? You can't be loyal to MOCA because MOCA doesn't pay you. You doesn't carry a MOCA ID. The most thing you carry to represent MOCA is that little identity vest with MOCA written on the back. So we need to get out of that about talking about independent agency. It isn't. That's the first thing that why I know it's a joke. And the second reason why I know that MOCA is a joke, I want you to look at this.
Lock them away. Criminal minds think they are cunning. The nature organized crime and anti-corruption agency have them running. Your friend a shout out, take time running. Now we ready for the ops. Drive up on your block, step out now the block. Cyber take away your laptop. Pull up every lock, no evidence to drop. We put it in a cuffs and now we have the underlock. Because we catching all this thing, take away everything. Open up your documents, I find out what you think. You feel say we a joke, you see me a grin. We put it in a jail and make them lock in a prison. You say you better look out for. When you move corrupt, better look out for. Please say you get wet, look out for. Look out for, look out for. From me say you better look out for. When you move corrupt, better look out for. Please say you get wet, look out for. Look out for, look out for. From me say you better look out for. When you move corrupt, better look out for. Please say you get wet, look out for.
Having looked at that, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that this is a serious law enforcement or crime fighting agency? This agency put out an ad. What agency on the planet Earth is going to put out an ad telling the bad guys on radio and on television, listen, look out for me, I'm coming. It even shows the visuals. So we will go into your office. I'm looking for people with laundered money. I'm looking for people who have this. I'm looking for you in the warehouse. I'm going to stop you on the street and flag you down. It tells you not only that it's coming for you, but how it's coming for you. And it tells you the type of people they are coming for. Now, what was this ad intended to achieve? No, I would like the person who designed this ad to tell me what it was intended to achieve. Because, hold on, I don't think one drug trafficker or one money launderer or any other nefarious person is going to be shivering their boots when they watch this ad. Or say, oh, hello, let's just pack all this up, let's throw away these millions of dollars and just go into the convent or into the monastery and become monks and start say, Hail Mary. No, you see how stupid they are? No, an agency like MOCA is supposed to be working in the shadows. They're supposed to pull up on you in surprise acts. And they're telling you exactly who they're looking for and how they're going to get you. No, what was it intended to achieve? I would like the person who created this ad, who conceptualized it, tell me the purpose and the objectives, and if it had achieved any of those objectives, right? So that is the second reason why I know MOCA is a joke. Third thing, about 60%, and don't believe me, I have my people at the Supreme Court who tells me things. Roughly 60% of all the cases that MOCA brings to the courts are thrown out. And they're thrown out on technicalities because their guidelines and their mandates are really a bit different from the ordinary police mandate. And it is such a minefield that when these people go into courts, There are all kind of technicalities that get these cases thrown out. They have had some successes, but for the amount of work and the amount of man hours used and the amount of money spent on equipment, it is just not worth it. At the end of the day, MOCA has not worked. And if you think this is joking, when I say at least 60% of, based on my the person who is informing me, which is from a very reliable source, I want you to look at this next clip now and tell you what. This comes from CVM television, and this is not something I made up. Now, take a look.
Government Senator Natalie Campbell-Rodriguez is urging the Joint Select Committee on the Cybercrimes Act to sit with the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA, this as MOCA admits they struggle to make charges under the laws written by the Cybercrimes Act. She says MOCA's recommendation should not be neglected, but instead the technical team should meet with both MOCA and the Director of Public Prosecutions to get a better understanding of the situation.
Because they're crying out for help and saying we're not able to do what we need to do as written. So maybe it's not going to be any substantive changes, but they're there on the ground every day trying to prosecute, trying to investigate, and trying to ensure that the law is maintained, and they're having troubles.
Contrastingly, Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Foreman notes upon perusal of MOCA's submission, they did not indicate in the past any difficulties exercising these powers, but instead was an interpretation of the legislation. However, Senator Rodriguez reiterates the importance of a meeting.
But if they interpret it incorrectly, they will have difficulties in practice. So that is why I said maybe it is a matter that the technical team and your department will have to assist them in interpreting properly, because they can't put in practice what needs to be in practice if they're interpreting it incorrectly.
Meanwhile, Chief Technical Director in the Technology Ministry, Joaquin Murray, offers another recommendation from the University of Technology, stating there is need for a replication service that can handle real-time servers.
And they are recommending, in that regard, that constables be trained in virtual infrastructure investigations, and have indicated that they have provided that kind of training to members of the JDF.
Justin Graham, CVM Live.
Okay, now having looked at that, what does that tell you? MOCA is not working. It's not working. So, but don't get me wrong. MOCA is simply a good idea gone bad. MOCA is a great idea. It's an excellent idea, but it has gone wrong because we don't have the people with the management skills and the organizational skills to properly run an organization like MOCA. That's it. But MOCA is not a bad idea. It's just that it needs competent managers, competent people, head of staff who can actually make MOCA work. And as of course, they would have to work in line with the government. So that's what we have. So what do we do? First of all, I think if we are going to fight crime, we have got to also look at MOCA and CTOC together. They have a duplicity of tasks. MOCA and CTOC actually does the same things. No, first of all, let's look at CTOC's name. Counter-terrorism and organized crime. That's what it deals with. Now, the terrorists are the extortionists who are, and the gangs that are terrorizing the country and doing extortion. Terrorism in the gangs is extortion. Extortion is organized crime. So since extortion is organized crime, and this organized crime are what they're trying to counter in the terrorist group, then that's what they are. Now let's look at the MOCA, major organized crime. It is also gang-related major organized crime. So they are looking at organized crime, and also they have organized crime in their name, and also CTOC have organized crime in their name. So they are both doing basically the same thing, right? The only difference between CTOC and MOCA is really that MOCA has a more, deals a lot with cybercrime, the technologies of information technology. They deal with a lot of that, but basically MOCA and CTOC does the same thing. Here is one of the things that can cause MOCA and CTOC to fail. MOCA will be going after a specific gang or a specific set of group of people. And CTOC will be going after the same set of people. Now, MOCA doesn't know what CTOC is doing, and CTOC doesn't know what MOCA is doing, and they both have their agents within a specific gang. And they are there getting information because MOCA might be getting a different set of information, some same, some similar, some different, than what CTOC is getting. Now, because they are not interconnecting and working together, because these agencies do not necessarily work together or share information. And here is why. It's a bit of a selfish nature. You've got to understand that each organization want that feather in its cap. Each organization want to be that organization that brought the gang down and to get that prestige for themselves. So CTOC is not necessarily going to share with MOCA or MOCA with CTOC. They may grudgingly share some information if they need assistance and can't, that's something that they might not be able to do by themselves. Right? So therefore, where the duplicity of task comes in is that you have, say, 10 men investigating a specific gang, and that's their only task. CTOC has 10 men there, MOCA has another 10 men there. Each doesn't know what the other is doing. Now, you see, when we could have had, if we had one big enough organization, there could be just one set of men working that task. I just said 10. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 50. But I'm just saying it's the duplicity of tasks. That's not a good use of manpower. Right? So what I think should do, MOCA is a good idea. So I wouldn't say to disband MOCA. Simply merge MOCA and CTOC. Once you merge MOCA and CTOC, you have a much more powerful organization and a better combination of staff, and training and expertise to rely on in this bigger organization. And then you will have one leadership structure. Yeah, because in the beginning, you have to understand that there were 2 leaders. Leader have its own structure, its own rules, its own mandates, and CTOC have its own. Now, there are 2 different set of managers there doing 2 different set of things, and the left don't know what the right to do, and the right don't know what the left to do. Yet they are actually playing on the same team. They are going after the same objectives. So that's the reason why I say MOCA and CTOC should be amalgamated. And when they are amalgamated, there should also then be legislation put in to iron out all the issues that MOCA had and streamline it, simplify it, and get it ratified and get it through Parliament so that this new agency is not hampered by all the things that Paula Llewellyn, who's the director of public prosecution, and corrupt people like Chief Justice Brian Sykes can throw out so many, can be taking so much money from the criminals and throwing out these cases using the laws, the same laws that are there to capture criminals, using those same laws against the law enforcement people. Right? So those are the things that's supposed to happen. So this new body will have its own leadership, one leadership. It has its own command structures, its own rules and guidelines, and its own mandate. Now, it should be a separate entity. And when I mean by separate, standalone entity, I mean just like how JDF cannot command or order any police personnel. They have absolutely no authority over the police. And the police has no authority whatsoever over the army. MOCA, this new agency, whatever we want to call it, should have a specific identity ratified in law, exist, to exist, and given the power, separate powers from what now entails in the police force, so that they can act separately, independently. That means it is going to have its own vehicles, its own identity, and the personnel that will be in this new agency. These new personnel that will then be put over into this new agency, they will have the identity, carry the identity card of this new agency. Now, these people are naturally going to come right straight from the Jamaica Constabulary and maybe the Jamaica Defense Force, if there are such personnel there, I don't know. But when these people come over, you're going to transfer their term of service. If they had 10 years in the JCF or the JDF or wherever, or any government department, and they go over to this new organization, they will have that continuous service with same pay at the minimum or more, and no loss in rank. So they'll have either the same rank or a higher rank, same pay, same perks, or better, but certainly they wouldn't be less off. And any terms of service they had in the previous organization, whether 18 months, 18 years, 30 years, that service goes over with them with no loss in any compensation or anything. And once you do that, these people will become more dedicated in this new agency, knowing this is where I am, this is who I work for, this is what I am, and they dedicate their life there. It can be done. The only thing preventing it from happening is the barriers in our minds. Now, when I speak of the barrier in our mind is a very powerful thing, Now, I'm going to give you an example. What is hampering Jamaica and hampering the fight with crime. Now, we're going to use an ant. And this is something that anybody can do. Any of you, go and get an ant, right? And just put him on a piece of white paper. Just put him on a book leaf or so, a plain white paper. And then draw a circle with a pen or a pencil around that ant. Or with a crayon. What do you think that ant is going to do? He will go to the edge of that circle. And he go to the edge and he tests the edge of this pen mark or the pencil mark. And he goes around the entire circle, back and forth, trying to get out and can't get out. Why do you think the ant is trying to get out? It can simply walk across the pen mark. It can simply walk across the crayon or the chalk mark, but it won't. Why? In its mind. Its mind tell him that it's a barrier. In the mind of an ant, in its mind, there's a barrier. And any of you, I want you to go out there. Just go out there now and go on a piece of concrete and have one ant on a piece of maybe asphalt, and just take a stone and just draw a circle around that ant. He never comes out. Or maybe take him hours to come out because he simply tests the barrier. It's a barrier. And once he sees a barrier, it stops. It's a barrier that he can simply surmount like it's not even there. But in its mind, it's a barrier and it stops. And that's how human beings think that's why we cannot make changes. Our mind stops us. Now, there has to also be a section that does what has to be done. So it have its own vehicles. This organization have its own vehicles. It have its own everything. It has its own SWAT team. So it doesn't have to call to the police, say, come meet us here because we have a so-and-so. It have its own, if it needs even a, whatever, a tractor or a truck, it has it. It can do its own thing as an independent, totally separate entity, which is uncontrolled by any other agency. That's what independence is. Now, this is part 2 because people don't like very long videos, so I won't take this one any further, which means that to tell you about if their operational stuff, how they actually go about operating in the field as field officers. That will have to be a separate video. But in my next video, I'll tell you how they will operate, what they will do, how they will gather information, and how they will handle the bangle of ending crime. So guys, thank you for listening. Look out for part 3, and it should be coming up in a day or two. Thank you so much for listening.